talk about black women, hey, we haven't had it this bad in a long, long time.
So I'm thinking about her and about the generations of women, black women, history have paved the way for this moment tonight.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the Fierce Vulnerability Summit, a conversation about and a celebration of colored girls' truths, trials, and triumphs. My name is Shannon Stott, and I am your host this evening. We also have Mark here, who is interpreting for us. Thank you very much, Mark. Tonight, we explore what it means to create generational wealth with fierce vulnerability. Sophia Casey has written a book about the strength of Black women and how they move through and relate to the world. Tonight, we talk about one of the things that helps us move through the world, and that is financial stability for ourselves and our families. Sophia, who has served for more than 30 years as an agent of change for followers around the world, been featured in Success Magazine and on Fox News and Sirius XM Radio, who is a professional certified coach through the International Coach Federation, as well as a director of the First Impressions, a task force for a former vice president of the United States, brings us all together tonight to discuss our financial fierceness. Please welcome Sophia Casey.
Hello, powerful people. Hello. So first of all, I want to say thank you, as I always do. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for not just purchasing Fierce Vulnerability, but also for sharing it with your friends. I literally just got a text today from a wonderful sister that said she enjoyed the book so much that she's sharing it with her sister friend group. And so I just want to say thank you. I appreciate that so much. This conversation tonight is near and dear to my heart. And I was thinking about it earlier today and thinking about, why is it so near and dear to my heart? So one reason, of course, is, yes, I want to contribute to our community having generational wealth. But I started to think about just that phrase, generational wealth, and why that's so important to me. And I immediately, of course, started thinking about our son. Our son, who is officially in the 10th grade. So I may do an ugly cry a little later, but that's a whole other topic. But I started to think about him and think about his future and what I want for his future and how I want to leave him. I always say our goal should be to leave people and places better than we found them. And so that is my goal, to leave him better, to leave all of our children better, to leave our communities better. And so I think this is a really, really timely and very important conversation. So certainly Josh is my biggest why, but also I know that a lot of us have been really riding a roller coaster this past 18 months, maybe a little longer now. We've been riding a roller coaster, and I know several of you have been impacted financially. And I want you to know that I pray for you all the time. Even if I don't know you, I just pray all the time because I know it can be really, really tough. And so my hope tonight is that you get some really good gems, some good nuggets, some money hacks that are going to support you around flourishing, around creating generational wealth. And so again, I appreciate your time, and please, 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 please share this live. If you know that there's someone who could use some motivation, and beyond motivation, could use some real life hacks and ideas and resources, I encourage you to share it with them, and grab your pen and paper so that you don't miss a thing. So thanks for being with us. I'd like to read, as I always do, a little bit from Fierce Vulnerability, A Colored Girl's Truths, Trials, and Triumphs. And if you haven't gotten it, what are you waiting for? Hello. All right, so just a little bit, quick excerpt from my wonderful book that's brought me so much joy. I drive through the affluent neighborhood using my phone's GPS to find Vanessa's new home. I wonder at the posh, green gated homes, reflecting on wealthy lifestyle of those within. Ain't nobody in here mowing their own lawns, I muttered to myself, shaking my head. As I pull up to the gate, Nessa comes out to greet me in a custom-made apron, covered in flour. I laugh at her as she leads me inside, noticing the beauty of the immense front entry and the trappings of wealth. How must it be? I smile and sigh, allowing myself to be a little envious of the spotless space. But soon I realize how cold and sterile the house feels, despite the immaculate interior. Nessa explains that she's been playing with dessert recipes for the birthday party. I think I found just the right recipe for eclairs to complement the cake. You'll have to help me taste them later. It's been so difficult coming up with the perfect desserts while keeping myself fit. She goes on theatrically, hands on her trim hips. Everything tastes so sweet to me. How do you feel about a Waldorf salad for lunch? The maid has all the ingredients ready to go, so we just need to put them together. We settle into the kitchen and each prepare our own salads as Nessa continues to chatter away. It becomes apparent that Vanessa has a definite new obsession with her health. She seemed to bounce back to her slim figure after each of her 3 pregnancies, but this is an entirely new level of concern for her appearance. I can see her eye my salad portions and as I sit down with our glasses of fruit-flavored water. What must she think of me? Well, honey, you sure seem to have your act together. I smile broadly and nod my head. The typical American dream. Gorgeous home, doctor husband, bowing to your every whim. 4 beautiful babies. You could be the poster child for everything a little brown girl could want to become. Nessa raises her chin and gives me a satisfied smile, though I detect something incongruous in her eye. Yes, it is a good life. Things are going well. Things are going so well for Michael at the surgery at Sibley. I wouldn't be surprised if he just keeps moving up the ladder. The girls are loving their school, and the twins are out right now with the nanny. I honestly don't know how you do it without a nanny. With work and all of my other projects, I just don't see how you get anything done. We make it work. My little people are already through those tough younger years anyway, I retort. We enjoy the rest of our food and chat a bit more about our children. So are you going to show me around? The end, but not really the end. If you want to know the rest, go get the book.
That's a good plug. Yes, if you want to know the rest, go get the book. Absolutely. Sophia, this isn't just you talking to us about finances. You've organized a beautiful, just conglomerate of people who are here and ready to talk to us. We have Earl Frambrawl was birthed by a single teenage mother in the early 80s in the Bronx, New York, when crack cocaine was either being sold or used heavily. Credit was never a conversation in his home. He is now a senior consultant and a part of a leadership advisory team. His goal is to inspire people to get more out of life, educate them on ways to go about it, and to provide them with opportunities and the resources to make it happen. Please welcome Earl.
Hey guys.
Hi, Earl. It's good to have you.
How's it going? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
We also have Kima Perry, who is a powerful creator and master money manifester. She teaches women to empower themselves so that they can manifest more freedom and abundance in the now. Kima started CARE as an educator and has her bachelor's degree in education and psychology and a master's degree in educational leadership. She firmly believes that we have the power within to rise above any obstacles that stop us from living the lives that we desire and deserve to live. Please welcome Kima.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Kima. It's good to have you. It's good to see you. We also have Naisha and Samantha, who gave birth to their daughter in February 2018. The duo is passionate about representing the LGBTQ community, which led them to become first-time authors with their children's book titled Umi and Uma, the story of two mommies and a baby. From income protection to setting up financial planning, the two are ready to break down all the details for their community on how to win the money game. We are here to win this money game. Please welcome Naisha and Samantha.
Hello. Thanks so much, Shannon. Hello, everyone. And of course, thanks Coach Casey for having us.
Of course, it's so great to have you. And we also have Sonia Maxwell, who is the Regional Vice President with Primerica. For decades, she has been teaching families the rules of money and how to build financial independence. Sonia enjoys educating others on the options they have to become financially independent and how to take control of their financial situations so they too can achieve financial freedom. Sonia, welcome.
Hi, excited to be here.
So good. So good. All right, friends. So we're going to start us off with just a little call and response sort of deal. I'm going to ask the audience, all right, the same question that I'm going to ask you, and we're just going to talk a little openly about this. So what I want to know is the most expensive thing that you've ever purchased that brought you no joy, and the least expensive thing that you purchased that brought you so much joy. This is what I want to know. So you can share, if you are in the comments, go ahead. The most expensive thing that you've ever purchased that basically brought you no joy, you had buyer's remorse, versus the least expensive thing that you've bought or purchased that brought you so much joy, so much love. Maybe you even still have it. What are those things? Anyone?
I honestly can't think of something that cost me the most that did not bring me joy. So I have to flip it a little bit.
All right.
The thing that I purchased that cost me the most, well, there are things that cost more, but one thing that I purchased that cost me a heck of a lot of money, it certainly was a lot of money when I purchased it several years ago, and that is Coach Training School. It cost me $16,500. And I have made that back a few times over. So I'm grateful for that spend.
Nice. I want to say Naisha is muted. Both of you, Naisha and Samantha, you're both muted.
I'm laughing. Samantha hit it on the nail. Go ahead.
So the thing that didn't bring me that much joy that cost me the most was probably my college education. Cost me a lot of money, but it didn't. I don't think I got me some friends, but I don't think it helped me in my path for today. And then you want to take the least?
Yeah, the least. I'd say a notebook. I love a cute notebook, and no more than $10. Just brings joy, and I have everything in it. It's just so simple. Yeah, for sure.
I love it. All right, Akima, have you thought of one? Oh, yeah.
Did she figure it out? Kima, you got it?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I kept pressing unmute and it wouldn't work. So I couldn't think of the most expensive, but the least expensive is this crystal. I don't know if you can see it. I take it anytime I have to speak or I have a speaking engagement, and this is it. So here's my least expensive.
Love it. Love it. How about you, Earl?
Well, I wouldn't say it probably was monetary. The most expensive thing I gave was time to people that didn't deserve it. That's where I spent and lost the most. And the most expensive thing I purchased probably was a membership to this awesome program that I'm a part of. And that has paid me back tremendously. And not only just money, but just education, skill, friendship, love, everything. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. In the chat, we have my iPhone X was or 10 rather, was a waste of my money. And the least expensive was a fan I wear around my neck. It's a lifesaver. Wonderful. Excellent. And Sonia, what about you?
Well, in terms of the least expensive, I would say are the licenses that I got when it comes to the financial education. And what it's given me in return, which is the key to change my entire legacy, but my family's entire legacy as well. You know, they say knowledge is power, but I find that that's not necessarily true. Financial knowledge, to me, is where the true power lies.
Excellent. I've loved all of these answers. Okay, so I want to go sort of right back into Sophia's reading. Sophia, if it's possible, can you flip back just to there's a little spot where we're talking about the house and what the house looks like, but the coldness. Can you read that part? There's a part where you say coldness.
I probably can't find it that fast, but yes, that's exactly right. She's talking to one of her besties, and this character in the story, Vanessa, is very, very wealthy. Well, they're all wealthy in the story, all four characters, but she's very, very wealthy, married, wealth, already had her own wealth, but she actually struggles with embracing her wealth, and also showing up authentically as possible. Excellent. Aside from her wealth.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about this showing up authentically. Can you all discuss the detriment of, quote, keeping up with the Joneses and how that can, I already see it, how that is a detriment to our authenticity?
My goodness. Literally, I'm thinking even from when I was a teenager and I was trying to keep up with the Joneses. Silly things. I bought a LED belt. Remember the name belts, but they had LED light up belts? $60, and I was trying to keep up because other people had it. But, darn well, I could have bought me a notebook or I could have bought a book, something that would just advance me to another level. But because other people had it, I was ready to buy it. And nowadays, I definitely see people just ready to buy the most expensive things, and they don't even know how to plan, if they put it on the credit card, pay it off, or plan to even use it. They'll just like, yeah, I bought that because someone else bought it. It's just that peer pressure, I believe, is very real, unfortunately.
Very real, incredibly real.
Can I add to that? Oh, sure. Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say, in today's time with social media, to me, this message or image of keeping up with the Joneses has expanded so much, because now we see the lifestyle of the entertainers. We see the lifestyle of all these bloggers, and everyone wants to be famous or they want to look like they're famous. They want to look like they're rich. So they're going out and accumulating and buying these things, and they don't realize that a lot of these other people that are the wealthy, the entertainers, a lot of them are acquiring these toys, the image from their assets. So they're not depleting their assets. So this trying to keep up with the Joneses to me is so much bigger today than it was when I was a kid. Before it was just buying, Mom, I want to have those tennis shoes, or Mom, I got to have this kind of skirt. And the money was so much minor. But now it's like, I need to have the iPhone, or I have to have the car. I need to have my hair. And it's a never ending ongoing thing. So it's so key to be aware of it. And then how do I pull myself out and build true wealth?
You hit it right on the head, Sonia. I was listening to a phenomenal speaker, and his name slips me now, but it'll come to me. And he was just talking about what poverty looks like today. He said before, poverty was, a rundown two-bedroom home, one bathroom, just no vehicle, or the vehicle was run down in the driveway. Said now, today, the picture of poverty is you got 2 cars in the driveway, maybe 3. You got the 85-inch TV screen in the house. You got PlayStation 5, every Jordan that came out, but you don't have $1,000 in your bank account, and you get EBT, or you living off every government subsidy that they can give you, so you can keep up with this lifestyle. And something that I heard from a yogi, I used to do yoga, and she said that you would much rather want to be honest than to be impressive. And to apply that in this financial age, absolutely. It's cost effective to be honest than it is to be impressive.
I like to say a little bit on that too. It's also looking at it, when you're looking at the different things that people have, is looking at from a perspective of this is available to me as well. Because sometimes we can get caught up in the, that's not for me, or it's not for my people, it's for other people, and that's not available to me. So it's looking at it, but at the same time, still staying true to yourself. What is it that I need to do to be, Earl said, on myself and open myself to receive? So I think while we can get caught up asking people, it's still learning that what we are looking at now that we are seeing more, it's also opening us up to receive some of the things that we never saw before, or we didn't think was available to us.
Absolutely. I just want to piggyback on that a bit. I really believe a lot of that is rooted in, so we're talking about generational wealth. I believe a lot of that is rooted in generational trauma, of our ancestors not having and always getting not even secondhand hand-me-downs, but third, fourth, 15th. So I imagine that they develop a mindset of scarcity. Like there's not a whole lot to go around. So I need to hold on. So I really want us to consider that although it can be a negative thing to always be chasing after the Joneses, it could possibly also be rooted in generational trauma.
No,
We're talking about
that's incredible that you say that, Sophia. I'm sorry, Shannon. But when you say that, that's powerful because it goes back to even segregation and turning into integration. It's like, what was wrong with us having our own everything? It's like once I should say the powers that be at the time opened up the doors for us, that made us feel better. It made us feel like we belonged to them. And, we were a part. So now even fast forwarding, it gives us that, well, I can buy Louis Vuitton too. Or, well, I can buy this car too. Or, well, I can do that too. It's not just you. I got money also, and a lot of people, it's a debate saying that they think that segregation and integration more so was the worst thing that happened to us. Because when we were separated, but equal, we had our own stores, our own movie theaters, our own restaurants. Everything was ours. But we looked at it like it wasn't enough, because we couldn't go to the other side and do the same thing. And once they opened that, it kind of, like you say, psychologically toyed with us. It made us feel like what we had, like their grass was greener or their ice was colder. So now we have to spend our money in order to have that so we can look as distinguished as they do.
I would love for you, Earl, to continue talking a little bit, and then for everyone to talk on this topic of having a Black economy. We hear this word, right? So what is a Black economy, and is it important, and why? What is a Black economy? Is it important, and why?
Wow, now that is a great question. So when we talk about economy, period, right? And to put the stigma or even the label Black on it, we're just talking about having access to the things that our people need, within our communities or within our structure. That's all we're talking about. It's nothing about, oh, well, we want separate products or no, we just want access. That's what it boils down to. And we want access from people that look like us, who think like us, who are shopping and becoming merchants with us in mind. I think that's the biggest part of it. Okay. But if anybody else wants to piggyback, that's fine. But in my mindset, I just believe that that's what it's all about. Like it's really not about separatism in that aspect. We want a chance too. We just want to be here as well.
Absolutely. To add on, Earl, I'm absolutely agreeing everything you're mentioning. If I have the opportunity, I literally use websites, of course, Instagram. I use specific apps to find people within my communities, Black, just keeping it real, Black women and men who are doing the service that I'd like. From a nail technician, the only thing, I'll be very honest, I do not have Carver, which is Black-owned bank. I do not. But if I can, nail technician, Black-owned restaurant, if I can find that, I'm going there. That's number one on my list. Even if it's out of my way, I am taking the train or bus to make it happen. Because the whole goal is to keep our money within our community. The goal is to support the people who had to fight longer and harder to get that specific business up and off the ground. For me, that's my personal goal. And I really yearn. I'm like, yo, is there a Black-owned business? I'm here to support. Take my money now because I want to support. I just feel like, unfortunately, other businesses, it was handed to them and it was given to them. I see what we have to learn. We got to figure out the QuickBooks on our own. We got to figure out hiring people and understand who's going to be with us within our tribe. It's a real situation. So I'm searching for the Black-owned business. I look forward to giving my money to a Black-owned business.
But I also look to educate Black-owned business, like while we interact. Like I think sometimes, when you become successful or when you reach a certain point, you forget to go back and teach people of what you've learned. And that, I think, like if we focus on that as a community, we can enrich our financial foundation. Because with money, like money is not going to solve your emotions or how you feel or, what type, as far as like anything, as far as like emotionally that you're going through, but it can give you options. And I think, once we have enough as far as like money flowing within like our pool of, community, it will give us options to do things. So then we're not necessarily leaning on the government. We become our own entity to where we're able to support our people in the ways that they need to support each other.
Mm-hmm. Can you be a little bit more specific on the options that you're talking about?
Well, like, I'll use as far as like right now, right? So we live in New York City. So within New York City, if you work for the city, you have to get vaccinated. And that's anyone's personal preference or whatnot, right? But it's literally come down to get vaccinated or feed your child, because you won't have a job if you don't get vaccinated. But if you had enough money or, if a financial foundation, then you can make the decision not worrying about your financial household. I think it's what we have to understand is that it gives you the ability to make decisions for yourselves and give you more options when as far as the law is changing in other directions that's not necessarily controlled by you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
Yes,
Sonia.
I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
Sonia, no, who was just speaking? Samantha, right?
I think, yeah.
Yes. When you talked about, you didn't use the word mindset, but about teaching them about the way, teaching our community about the way that we speak. And I think, like you were saying, it goes so much deeper than just the money exchange. it's really just healing ourselves from, like Sophie said, the generational, and I say this lightly, but generational curses. Not that we are cursed, but sometimes we feel like we are, because we just get stuck in the same patterns. One minute we have the money, then it's gone. So it's really teaching ourselves how to think differently about money, how to feel differently about money, and actually just having a money awareness, because a lot of times it's just avoiding it. Like, I don't even want to talk about a budget, you know? And when you talked about options, it's options for our children. If I want to choose to send my son to private school, I have that option. Now my parents are aging, and like sometimes it's making the decision, what is it that we can afford? If we, and over work on, but we wouldn't have to choose between, say, a home and a caregiver. So it's the options for what is best, not just for ourselves, but for our family as well. Families as well.
Talk about it, Kima. Talk about it, because you talked about that option, and I'm from New York City originally too, so I understand and I'm connected to the people and the plight that they're going through. And I chose to get the vaccination, and it really had nothing to do with what they're talking about. But I understand, and the fact that last year alone, right, more people suffered because of poor credit and poor financial decisions prior to the pandemic, which led to them to have to kind of depend overly on their credit score. It put them in a position where it put them behind, right? It put them further back where they, than they wanted to be, giving them less options, less choice, putting you at the mercy of situations like this, right? Like, oh, now I have to get vaccinated. I was anti-vaccinated when I was getting them stimulus checks, but now I don't have any money, and now I have to get vaccinated in order for me to go into this place of business. But if you just, had a little bit, just a little bit of financial understanding, understanding what an emergency fund is, what a true emergency fund is, then you could have bought yourself enough time to where you can get out and maybe possibly start your business, right? Or you could possibly get into a position where it's like, okay, I don't have to worry as hard about that part yet. Yeah, so it's definitely about knowing where to get the information so you can make the right decision, so you can open up those choices for you.
Let's start talking about that a little bit. So everyone is leaning towards, or everyone has talked about this shift. And before we get into the actual nitty gritty of like what are the resources, can you all talk about where thinking differently about money? How do you think people think about money now, and what does the shift need to be that the community needs to do? So where are we thinking about money now, and how does the community need to shift into thinking about money?
Well, let me jump in and start. One is I find many times when I'm sitting and talking to people, when it comes to saving, investing, and some of the things Earl talked about, they feel like, well, one, I don't have enough. And that is such the wrong way of thinking. If you are working for income, right, either a job or a business, you have money. And it's amazing how the little bit, that small seed, consistently over time can amount to this huge sum of money. It can amass the wealth. I love sharing with clients that think, well, I'm a little embarrassed. I don't think I have anything to invest, or I don't even want you to see what I have. So when it comes to like vulnerability, we got to be vulnerable. We got to open ourselves up. We got to be honest with ourselves, right? And honest with the person that's helping us. But I love to share is like, look, did you realize that if you use a seed of $100 a payday, and you do that consistently over time, you're retiring with 1.5 million at the right interest rate, of course, right? So that little seed that you think is not enough, right, can truly become this oak tree that provides for you and your family for generations to come. So the first thing is, yes, the thinking that what I have is not enough to do anything. So that would be the first thing I would say. Anybody want?
Yes, Sonia, you said it, and we're literally within the same field. So sitting down with people, my thing right now is helping them with their income protection. They're like, I don't think I can afford this, or let me pay off some debt first. And, I'm not here to convince anybody on what you need, but I'm thinking long term, or, think about what you can do for your family now. If something were to happen to you, are you okay with you leaving back with your family? Most of the time they'll say no. I'm like, okay, well, let's change this. Also, people aren't aware of, as you mentioned, Sonia, people aren't aware of the money that they have now and what it can do for them later on, and then I feel like because of social media and because of, the small outlets we have, people are thinking about the small apps like, oh, I'm investing my money here. I'm like, if you invest your money somewhere else, you can definitely have a better return. So the whole goal is to educate. When we reach out to our people, personally, I can say that a lot of them thinking about, oh, I got money now, let me spend it on this. When the stimulus checks came in, they were looking to spend their money so quick on resources that weren't going to allow them to grow. It was a pair of sneakers though, but we were still in the house. So I'm not sure where they were wearing those sneakers too. But the goal is to literally help our people advance. That's when I reach out to people, I'm like, hey, we're just sharing what we do so we can educate our community. That's literally what we do, educate our community to help them take them to another level.
But I think before you get to like the details and it's important to do like a financial checkup. Like for me, I like to know what you're spending your money on, because you got to understand when you spend, sometimes it's to heal an emotion. So it's how can we check, what we're going through or why we're spending. If you notice, like when we had the lockdown, there was a lot more online spending. People had to release. They needed a place to explode. So let's figure out why we're spending the money so we can figure out what we can do to help that particular, concern. And then we can redirect things to get to what you really want. I also want to know what you want to do in your life. Like people, you got to know where your destination is and have a strong enough why to get there.
Right.
So it's, once we figure out what your destination is, find out what your why is, then we can tell you how to drive your vehicle to get there. And how to avoid the detours along the way. But it's just simply, honestly, being open to understand that it is a mind, keep talking about minds. It is a mindset shift. People who have money don't think the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be open to changing your way of thinking to get what you want to get.
Yeah, because
So true.
I know what I tell my clients is worry causes lack, and lack causes worry. So you got 60% of America got less than $1,000 in the bank right now, right? That means in case of an emergency, you don't have $1,000 to pull out in order to solve your problem. That means over your time of working, you didn't save $20 a week. You understand what I'm saying? $20 a week. Because with the lack mentality, you're telling yourself, well, now I can't save because I need what I need right now, because if something happens, then I won't have it because it's under the mattress and the mattress burnt down. So they only worried about today, not realizing that like money, it's a saying about money. Save me today and I'll save you tomorrow. Okay. And it gets deeper than just saving. Like the lady said, you must invest this money. You must put this money to work. Your money shouldn't just be sitting there. It should be working, because the $1,000 that you save today is worth less than that next year. So it's like that, you might as well put it to work right now and let that give you some sort of return on your investment, as opposed to just hoping that nothing happens. Like what just happened, nobody foresaw that. Everybody thought we was just going to have the best 2020 in the world. And boom, we got 50% of America went jobless in just, 5 months. So it's incredible how we have to change our thought, man. We have to have more of an abundant mindset. We have to understand that the future is where we should be living, because that's where we're going to spend the rest of our life. So we have to really think about that. We have to think about tomorrow. We have to think about my daughter. My daughter, she's 20 months old. Okay, I have to think about her many tomorrows from now until, she can think about her own tomorrows and her kids' tomorrows. So we can't just think about today. You can't get your $1,200 stimulus check and go spend $400 on Jordans, and then you're buying seafood, crab boils, and you're just blowing the money. And then at the end of it, you want to borrow $100 or you want a payday loan. No, we're thinking backwards, So that's my spirit.
Everyone has spoken. You've all said the same thing. You get your money and then you spend it right away. On Jordan specifically. Oh, did you have something, Kima? Yes, please.
Yes, I want to piggyback on what Earl just said about the future. It's so important to get a clear picture of what that looks like. Because oftentimes we say things, I just want more, I just want more money, I just want more money. But when that comes, it doesn't seem like it's enough. I often tell this story. When my husband and I wanted to travel, we kept saying, we want to go to Europe, we want to go to Europe, and year after year after year, it just never happened. But when we got clear and said, we want to go to London, we want to go to Italy, we want to go to Naples, we want to go to Rome, it was like everything lined up. And so I always use that story just to say, be specific. We often just, it's about living paycheck to paycheck, but we don't have a clear picture. What is our next level life? What does that look like? And it's just going to start like things unfolding for us to get into place for that to happen.
So yes, I want us to even talk deeper on this idea of being consumers. So everyone has spoken about, you get the money and you spend it on Jordans. You get the money and you spend it on seafood. And what I would love you all to talk about is the importance of the Black community having buying power. What does that mean? Being a Black person that consumes with consumer power. What does that mean? How should we use that power?
All right. Well, I deal in the credit industry. Okay. So we tell a lot of our clients that an 800 credit score is the same equivalent as having $100,000 in buying power. Okay. So if you have 5 adults in your household and all 5 of you have 800 credit scores, you just put $500 million in your house. So now you have the ability to go out and leverage that to maybe purchase other businesses, purchase other real estate and commercial properties, so you can begin to make money. You can begin to, create that generational income. More so, you can begin to buy back the neighborhood. Where I'm from right now, it's less than 10% of the businesses that's in the neighborhood are Black owned. Okay, but we spend all of the money though. Okay, they say that the neighborhoods are poor. That's impossible, because if that's the case, then the Asians wouldn't come and open stores. The Koreans, the Dominicans wouldn't come and open stores in the neighborhood and utilize our dollars to go and live the lifestyle that they want to, live for themselves. So what happens is we get that same mindset and we buy back our own. It may start small. It may start with you just buying your first house for yourself, getting yourself out of the position of paying rent. Okay. And then you start to share that information with your family members and your relatives. Now you got 7 members in your household who all own homes. Now you can put other members in your home. They can come live with you, stack their money, save up, build their credit, and go buy their first home. And now we own an actual cul-de-sac. That's ours. Okay, it really starts with the mindset, and that's what we're talking about here. At the end of the day, everybody knows what to do. It's like I was listening to Samantha. She talked about the why. Why is this important? Why is it important for us to buy our neighborhoods? Why is the buying power so relevant? Okay, especially if we have no idea what to do with it. I think that this is a great topic to talk about.
Yeah, speaking of buying power, I read a statistic that said Black American buying power is at $1.1 trillion. That's crazy. And how much of that $1.1 trillion is being spent in our communities with our entrepreneurs? And it's slated to hit $1.5 trillion this year, by the end of this year. That's a lot of power. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of power. So speaking of which, I would love to hear from the panelists about the importance of Black people. And I mean, when I say Black people, I mean the diaspora. But Black people actually having their own businesses.
Okay. I'd love to jump in with that. You know, I'm actually from Panama, so I am an immigrant to this country, right? And I was told the road to success is going to school, going to college, and working for a great company. And I followed that game plan to a T the first 20 years that I was in the US. You know, went to college, worked at UCLA, grew up or worked my way up at UCLA, got recruited by San Diego State. When I left UCLA, my department was bringing in 3.5 million to the university. And I came to San Diego State to start that same program for them. So I was brainwashed, again, be that great employee till I found myself being a single mom. I never thought of having my own business or being self-employed, but that really changed me because now I did not want someone telling me I have to choose between going to my daughter that's sick because I get the phone call saying she's sick, come pick her up, or keeping my job. Right. And I'm like, Lord, there has to be something. So when I got introduced to the opportunity to be self-employed, it was scary. But as we talked about your why, the why to be in control of my life, of being able to say what's important to me, to do the things that's important to me and still generate income was at the top of my list, right? So for the last 18 years, that's all she has seen. Right? A mom that is able to take her to school, a mom that is able to pick her up from school. She's never had to be in that 6 to 6 program. So what does an entrepreneurial opportunity or a business give you? It gives you freedom. It gives you flexibility. It gives you choices. You get to dictate what's important for you and your family, not someone else. Right? You get to control your income. Can it be scary? Yes, because not many people are doing it. But oh my God, they couldn't pay me to get a job now. Right? Because of the rewards of, again, being independent. And now I'm able to really work with the people that I want to work with. I'm not stuck in an office with people that I can't stand. Right? I get to choose who is going to be a part of my circle, who's going to be a part of my team. So I look forward to going to work per se, because it's a fun and in the process, what I'm doing now, I'm choosing something that brings me joy. Right? Because nobody goes into business in something that they hate, but many will be stuck at a job that they dread every day. That's why they say the amount of heart attacks is more on Monday, because people are dreading going to that job. Right? But when you're in business, you choose what kind of business you go into. So you're choosing something that resonates with your heart, with your spirit. So I'm getting excited. Okay, I'll calm down. But but yes, being entrepreneur, having your own business, the rewards are unlimited. I'll turn the baton over to someone else.
I'm just going to add that, and the great thing about entrepreneurship is that it doesn't have to be an either or. Like, you can have that job, and some people love their jobs.
Yes.
There are some small percentage, just kidding. I'm sure there's a large percentage of people who really love their jobs. And we need people to actually be on jobs, right? To keep the economy stimulated. But it doesn't have to be either or. You can actually have both. And, we used to always talk about, multiple streams of income as if it was like a luxury or something, really something great to aspire to. Now I really relate to multiple streams of income as like, that's living 101. Yeah. Like, everybody better have multiple streams of income. And then what has the pandemic taught us? What did the pandemic show us? A lot of people were relying on those jobs to take care of them, to keep them going in a crisis. And a lot of those companies were not able to do that. And a lot of companies chose not to do that. A lot of companies chose to save themselves. And so I just underscore what you're saying, Sonia, that it's so important, Sonia, to actually have your own. You'll never be able to say, Coach Sophia said, quit your job. I quit my job, but I will never say that to someone else. But I will say that I encourage every single Black person, BIPOC person, to make sure that you have multiple streams of income so that you do have that freedom that Sonia just talked about.
I know an elderly entrepreneur couple. Just to piggyback off what Sonia said real fast, because she said she was from Panama. I know a couple here in America who, they were entrepreneurs. They worked their business for years. They made enough money to where they actually retired to Panama right now, and they're out there teaching cryptocurrency on their own time. That's the power of entrepreneurship. That's the power of business, right? It gives you purpose. It gives you time. It gives you money, right? That's what it's about. So go ahead. More power to you.
No, and I think as far as okay. Yeah, like for me, one thing I say, I had a unique growing up experience. So like I grew up in America. My mother grew up in England. My father's from Jamaica. So they both went on two different paths, right? Like my mother went to school, had a job, retired when she maybe it was a little delayed, maybe like 5 years later, but she retired. She's still retired right now. And then my father's an entrepreneur. Like, he has property within Jamaica, has property within New York, and was able to survive, as there's not that many Black owners in Brooklyn right now, but he was one of the people that were able to survive. And one of the things that I have learned through like my experience of growing up with my parents is that they both taught me two different things. And one thing about my father, especially growing up from an island, like there's something that I was taught in school about, the Black burden. Like I didn't grow up realizing what that was and how that can impact my way of thinking. So I think it's like I do count my blessings that when the way how my father raised me, it was more of, because coming from a Caribbean to America, you look at it as a land of opportunity.
Yes.
So you go search for your opportunity. So essentially, him, and he's also illiterate. So I think it's important for us as Black people, we need to eliminate our excuses and go forward to what we're trying to get it, and try, work on the things that feel like it's holding us back, but we have to propel past our excuses. Because for him to be illiterate, has his own business, owns 7 properties in New York, plus land in Jamaica. Like I had no reason of not to succeed. But it's when you hold on, you hear different people telling their stories and different people helping and propel each other. You got to understand that the why is very important for me, but the will, it has to go right with it. We work our jobs with a lot of energy, but when we come into our business, we don't have the same energy. You got to work your business like you worked your job for them 10 years in order for it to work. A business doesn't grow in a day. It doesn't grow in a week. You know what I'm saying? So it's important for us to put the same amount of effort and execution that we wanted to get that promotion in our job, in our business, for it to propel, because it doesn't propel the same way. When you work at a job, you get what? A 5% bonus if you're lucky, a $5,000 increase. You divide that by 365, it's like $50 a week. That's not really much money, guys. Come on, that $5,000 raise is really not that much money. But when you put that same amount of effort into your business and you get a 5% increase, a 10% increase, then you have that multiplier working in your favor, and you're able to help people within your community, because you can employ more people that people don't want to hire. You can serve more people that people don't want to serve. And we're able to change our financial foundation and the way how our community gets to express themselves within the market.
Tag me in. All right. I want to definitely say,
and as a service-based business, what I love most is that I get to give myself a raise whenever I want. So if I want to increase what my clients are getting to pay, I do it. If I want to change my hours, no, this isn't working for me, I change my hours. But I must admit, when I first left my job, I was almost trying to work this same schedule. And I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. This is what I walked away from. And so now I am on a mission to really help women to empower themselves, like we get to create the kind of business that we want. We get to create the kind of life that we want. If you're a morning person and you want to do your thing in the mornings, then you do it, because it's a big shift. We're used to someone telling us what to do. We're used to someone telling us when we can have a break. We've been groomed for that from school. You to the workforce. So for everybody that owns their business, I don't think people understand what the big mindset shifts that they have to take to really do things differently and to recognize that they have the power to do it their way.
Yes, yes,
Listen,
yes.
before we wrap up, my mentor always says this. He says, when you get a job, you start out, you're overpaid because you have no idea what you're doing, but they're going to give you all of this money to figure it out. And then after a while, you're underpaid for the rest of your life. But he said, when you start a business, whether it's service-based, multi-level market, whatever the case, you start off underpaid. And then you overpaid for the rest of your life. So I hope y'all wrote that down, because that's the whole definition of why you want to start a business.
I love that, Earl.
I wanted to add really quickly, of course, agreeing everything here, and I actually didn't know what an entrepreneur life was. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was until I met my wife. I was in college. We're actually celebrating our 11-year anniversary next week. So I didn't know. But she was like, yeah, like you don't have to work for someone else. I said, I never even thought about that. I didn't think about that. Unfortunately, I still work for other people, putting in a lot of time and energy. Even my last job, this is my first time ever in my life being laid off, but I put so much energy into the job. I was laid off in this past April. Energy, like emotional, crying because I didn't understand things, crying because I was number 5 out of 82 black people in the company, and I didn't feel accepted, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. So eventually when I was laid off, I'm like, it's time for me to go hard within our business. The energy that I was giving them, let's do it here, okay? But also what I appreciate most is the freedom of our time. We're going to New Orleans tomorrow. I didn't have to ask no one for a day off. Hello. I don't have to ask anyone, do you want me to put my away message on? Not at all. Okay, what I'm also going to do, we're still working our business because our duty is to be here for our clients. So, I can check in whenever I feel like it. It's all up to me. I don't have to, I'm sorry, I can't make the Zoom meeting. Forget all that. I set up my own Zoom meetings and it feels so good. And then I wish I would have done this before, but it didn't hit me until I saw, again, the energy I was putting in my previous job. And they let me go. They let me go. They didn't care about me. So I'm excited. I'm so excited to move forward and understand that literally it's my power to make things happen.
It is your power. And one of the things that the pandemic did, it helped a lot of people wake up to that.
Yes.
A lot of people like, do I even like this job? Wait a minute. I don't even like this job. I don't even like these people.
Exactly.
So let's see what I can do. And a lot of Black businesses were created since March 2020. So which I'm thrilled to know that. But we need more. Thank you for saying that, sister.
On that note, we're going to take a little break. This has been so wonderful. Each and every one of you are adding such amazing details and support to people who are watching. There's so many comments in the in the chat. People are like, right on, happy anniversary, freedom. Yes, things are all facts. Find out your why is what Cheryl is taking away. So this is wonderful. We are going to take a 2-minute break. Go get some water. If you're watching, go get some water, or take this 2 minutes to buy the book. All right, 2 minutes.
Speaking of Black businesses, buy the book.
Friends and family, if you are looking at the screen right now, what you're seeing is the Fierce Vulnerability book, available on Amazon. When it debuted as #1 new release on Amazon for dramas and plays by women. Fierce Vulnerability, A Colored Girl's Truths, Trials, and Triumphs is the story of powerful women, Jean-Marie, Ava, Vanessa, and Simone, living the dream of Black affluence in Washington, D.C. Each woman in her own time begins a dark journey to the underbelly of this dream. We come to know them each through their own distinct voices. We come to see them more fully through the eyes of their sisters, and it is through their collective perspectives, friendships, and sisterhood that we learn who they are and develop a sense of what it takes to claim freedom, power, and fierce vulnerability for ourselves. Again, this book debuted at #1 new releases for dramas and plays on Amazon, and it's right here for you. Just go to Amazon, buy the book, support Black businesses, and be fiercely vulnerable with your finances. We will be right back. All right, we are about to return, but I do want you to go ahead and buy the book if you haven't already. This is a book that debuted at #1 new releases on Amazon for dramas and plays by women. It's Fierce Vulnerability, a colored girl's truth, triumphs, and trials. A colored girl's truth, trials, and triumphs. And this story is a powerful story about Jean-Marie, Ava, Vanessa, and Simone living the dream of Black affluence in Washington, D.C. It's through their collective perspectives and friendships and sisterhood that we learn who they are and develop a sense of what it takes to claim freedom, power, and fierce vulnerability for ourselves. So if you haven't done it, buy the book, be fiercely vulnerable. Friends and family, welcome back. You are here for the summit. Thank you so much. It is good to see you, Mark. I know Mark is getting so much out of this. Unfortunately, Mark cannot take notes. He's working so hard right now. I'm so glad to have you. Listen, we need to bring everyone back. You are here for Fiercely Vulnerable, the Fierce Vulnerability Summit, a conversation about and a celebration of colored girls' truths, trials, and triumphs. And tonight we are exploring what it means to create generational wealth with fierce vulnerability. So let us bring everybody back. We have Earl, we have Kima, Naisha, Samantha, Sonia, and of course, Sophia Casey. This has been a wonderful conversation that I have loved. Once everyone is back, we're going to start getting into the nitty-gritty of all the things that we are talking about. We talked about the ideas, the whys. How about talking about the hows? So from each of you, what I would love is just to start off with basic advice that you give everyone when it comes to finances.
Oh, well, I'll start off. First thing I tell a person to do, right? Because I'm in the credit industry. So a lot of people, they contact us because they either want to buy a home or they need funding for a startup business or something like that. So the first thing we tell them to do is just know what your credit score is. Go get you a copy of the free annual credit report that you get every year, or or you get with somebody reputable who can help you get all 3 correct copies of your credit report. And then you go over your report to make sure everything on there is supposed to be on it. Make sure you have a great assortment of credit. You want to make sure you have great revolving credit. You want to make sure your installment debt. Like, these are the categories you want to look at when you're looking at your credit report. You want to look at your collection section. You want to look at the inquiry section, right? You just want to make sure everything is what it's supposed to be. Make sure that it is all your information. Okay. And then from there, if there's anything there that shouldn't be, then you want to go into the process of disputing the negative items. Anything inaccurate, erroneous, derogatory, if it's not you who's a victim of identity theft, unfortunately, then you want to get those items looked at and taken off right away. So then you can get a better, broader picture of your credit and it can begin to grow in your favor. Then you maybe want to add some positivity to your credit, right? Get some new credit. Most people don't have bad credit. They just don't have enough of it. They've been holding on to that Sprint bill since '96, and that's the only thing that they have. And so it's like, okay, well, go get you a secure credit card now. Maybe go and get a car. If you can, if you're able to apply for a car note, that revolving credit, it looks good. That installment credit looks great on your profile. Okay, that's what I would tell you, start. Just knowing knowing first, know thyself.
Okay, I'd love to go next. One, I start off by letting my clients know that we, if not all of us, have been sold a lie, right? And what is that? That it's smart to work for money 40 years of our lives and keep none and think things are going to get better. You cannot work for 40 years of your life and keep none of it. Right? So number one, I say, look around you. Look at those that did that, right? What do they have? So one, it's realizing that that's a lie. And you'd be amazed when I tell my clients, it starts by keeping some. They will tell me, well, Sonia, you don't understand the bills I have. You don't understand the obligations I have. Again, it's like, look, you got to get that out of your mind. I don't care how much you start with, but you got to keep some, right? So that is my beginning conversation. For things to change, you got to change. And it starts by you keeping some of what you make. Then the next thing is saving and investing and really knowing what we call your FIN number or your freedom number, because there's some that are doing nothing, and that's one group. There are many that were like me. I was saving, I was putting money in my investment account, but I had no clue, right? And it's kind of like getting on a plane and you have no idea where it's going to take you. Right. So now I teach clients, yes, you're saving, great, but you need your FIN number. You need that number. You need to know how much do you need to accumulate so you can retire with dignity. Right. So the FIN number is crucial because that helps you create a roadmap. Right. And pretty much I wrap that up by letting everyone know, like, look, you can build wealth. So let's get rid of the lies. Let's get rid of the untruths. Yes, you can. And it's doing the small things consistently over a long period of time. Yes.
So when my clients come to me, they want to change their money story. So that's what we look at. We look at them creating, like I said, getting clear on what they want their money to be. And so we don't focus as much on how it's going to happen. We work on the money. They're ready to work on the how later. So the advice that I give my clients is really looking at how do you feel about money? When you say the word money, like, are you triggered? And then it's taking those triggers and then looking at the feeling that goes with it. And what is the decision that you have to make to do things differently. Because what happens is our money story just keeps repeating the same pattern over and over until we make a decision to change it. And so before one is able to sometimes see, because they have so much trauma around saving, or maybe they're, which makes them more, or maybe they're a hoarder. Maybe they just hold on to their money, but they're not enjoying life. So you can sometimes have a lot of money, but you may not be enjoying your life. So it's really just circulating money. How can I circulate money? How can I get money to flow to me? And also, how can I give it? So it's the receiving and the giving. And so take different steps to work on the triggers, to work on the limiting beliefs, to work on this self-sabotage, so that they can really start tapping into their inner power and creating the reality that they desire and deserve.
Yeah, that was definitely very great. All of you guys, because literally I do the combination of, I'm very I really understand like how emotions is connected to your money. So for me, I'm very strong on like, why are we here and what is it exactly do you want from this particular meeting that we're having. So I really take the time to focus on that. But then I like to do a financial checkup. One thing I've noticed, like when I do talk to clients, they put their money into their investment account or their savings account, but they have no idea what it's doing. So I'm saying, if you gave me $1,000, do you want to know what I did with that $1,000? Like, how did your $1,000 do within the last year? Or how did your $1,000 do within, the last month? So it's like, it's really getting people to think about like, what financial habits do I have? And what am I willing to adjust and change? So it's really setting up people with their like foundation, figuring out, because everyone's foundation is different. So everybody's plan isn't the same. So it's really figuring out what is your financial foundation, figuring out where you want to go, and really come to terms with what you're willing to do to get there. Because when we give you, like Sonia talked about your financial independence number, when people see that number, they're like, whoa, like, how am I going to get there? But if you really understand like your why, or what you really want, what you're willing to change and adjust to get there, it no longer seems unattainable. A lot of the times we put our dreams and, financial habits aside because we look at it as unattainable, but that's why you want to be with someone that can teach you how to make it attainable. Because people who play basketball, they don't get nowhere without a coach. If you want to be a doctor, you need to learn from somebody that knows what they're doing and how to get there. So it's really finding out what's that person's story, find out what their financial journey is, really sitting down and doing a financial plan, making sure we build your financial house to the standards that you needed to have, and just opening up people's eyes and awareness to different habits that they can change along the way.
I'm hearing you talk. What I'm hearing is financial mentorship. And can you all talk a little bit about that? Because I wonder if there are people that are watching, if their friends all are at the same level that they are, how can we go out? How do we find a financial mentor?
You got to ask the question. You find someone who's doing what you want to do, or is living the life that you want to live, and then you ask them how did they do it. They said the 5 best questions, the 5 words that you can ask in order to obtain a mentor is, how can I help you? Right? And then you begin to serve the person you want the info from, and then they'll give you everything. Or you can just ask them, hey bro, listen, I'm interested in purchasing a house. I like your house. How did you go about doing it? Or, I'm interested in starting a business. I see you have a successful business. How did you do it? What are some tips and tricks that I can do? Or even if you got mentors from afar that you're just following them online, social media, YouTube, and you're just taking notes and more so applying the information, right? You can have notebooks full of all the, like I said, a lot of us know what. We know what. It's just the how and the why. Once you know why, then the how is simple. It's really easier than a lot of us thought, especially if you have someone who's able to give you, the tips and the tricks, or they've been there, done that, and they got the T-shirt to show you, and now it makes it just that much more simpler. They say a mentor is faster than books in a lot of situations.
So, I will ditto what Earl said. Number one, I guess even before that, there's so much information out there now. We are living in different times, a different world, right? I remember when I was in school and there was a class project or I needed to research something, it was going to the library. Especially if you don't have a set of encyclopedias in your own home, right? And you were spending hours reading, trying to find the resource. But now, everything is really at our fingertips. We can go to Google and just ask the question. And even if we're not quite sure what the question is, if we just put some of the key words, we get information back. So it takes time, but first it starts with us realizing we're not where we want to be financially and asking the question, right? And searching for the answers, right? And I think a lot of us really need to be fierce about this. It shocked me a few years ago when I was reading this article that talked about how the casinos and these businesses, they spend time studying us, thinking about us, our habits, and how to take more of our money. It's like even the carpet, how it's designed in the casinos, it's to keep us from looking down. The machines, the sounds they make, it's to attract us. And that blew me away when I realized companies spend so much to take what we think we don't have. Right? So we have to be just as fierce, saying, look, I'm coming from behind, right? We're coming from generations of being behind. So it stops with me. So I need to be just as fierce in terms of, I got to learn this. I got to get answers. I got to figure this out. It stops here, right? And so, yes, it may be going to Google. There are now all these events like this. Then once a week or once a month, I need to plug into something. Or like Earl said, look around. Who has some of the success that you want? And just ask, hey, are you working with, I always admire you and how the things you do. Do you have someone that's helping you? What do you like most about that person? Would you be willing to refer me to that person? But information is all around us. But the first thing is we got to wake up. We got to be vulnerable and say, I don't know all the answers, right? I need help. Will you help me? Yes.
I want.
Yes, I like to piggyback on that. In that, with the fierce vulnerability and getting clear, hey, life is not as I want it to be. I can make a difference in my life. And also, when it comes to your mentor, you can start by writing a list. What is it that I want in a mentor? What is it that I want to learn? And when you write your own list of your needs and your wants, you'd be surprised. Like when I wanted to call in a coach, I was very specific. I just took an index card and I wrote down the things that I wanted in a coach. And sure enough, it was like the coach that I wanted, most of those attributes, she had it. So once we get, again, I'm going to keep going back to that. Once we get clear on what we want, it's putting the emotion out there to the universe, to God, to source, that this is what I'm wanting. And that's how we begin to attract more of what we want. We spend so much of our time talking about what we don't want, what's going wrong. I can't save money. I'm not good at this. And we're not speaking life into what we are wanting. And that's how we shift. And that's how we change. And that's how we attract even something as simple as the coach or the financial advisor who is going to help us with our next steps.
Kima, I'm wondering, you touched on this a little bit. You said that you wrote down, you became clear on what it was that you wanted, and you wrote those things down. For all of you, can you give us some personal stories of financial success, a short blip of your life that started off with you not knowing and then figuring it out and then being rewarded with that journey, so that people can see, like, I listener, viewer, don't know even where to start, right? So I would love to hear some of your own personal successes.
I'd love to
I'll
jump
just keep going if that's okay. No? Yes, yes. So coming from the manifesting perspective, I had a coach and I wanted to launch a course. And I said, okay, I'm calling in 10 people for the course. And she was like, no, you can go for 20. And that would have brought in $20,000. Well, it didn't happen. One person signed up. These are the things that happen with business, but you got to keep going. But I kept writing it out. I had $20,000 like on tape on my windowsill. I was affirming what I wanted. I was speaking life into what I wanted. And I kind of like forgot about it. Even though I was saying it, I wasn't doing like the work at that time. I was actually in the process of resigning from my job. And when I got the check, when I resigned and walked away, when I got the check, what was it? $20,000. And so this is the story that I'm speaking, is that when we speak life into what we want, when we believe in what we want, sometimes how we think it's going to come to us, it doesn't happen that way. But the divine always has a way, always knows about a way. And I knew then and there, Kima, this is what you are called to teach, because I was raised, work hard, and this is how you do it. Now, I do believe that there is a place for working hard. I'm not just sitting here with my hands like this, money please fall in my lap. No, but there are specific steps that you can take to manifest more of what you are wanting.
Manifesting is absolutely real, and understanding that it's possible, to me, is the number one step. And again, I'm like, I guess I should, and I'm very much appreciative of my wife. When I was in college, she's like, "We're gonna save $10,000." And I said, I don't get it. She was like, she said, "We're gonna save $10,000." And we were not in business at the time. The goal was, we get paid, we put it in an account, get paid and put it in an account. And it was hard for me. I'm speaking for myself. It was hard to put that money in the account and, just allow it to grow. And it was a savings account. It wasn't even a money market. It wasn't nothing. It was just growing because we weren't touching anything. So then we actually saved $10,000. I don't even know how, it was definitely less than a year, maybe 6 months. I forgot. But for me, as a girl from the Bronx in college, saving $10,000, I said, "Oh, I can't believe this. This is amazing." Right. Shout out to the BX. Okay. But then guess what? My grandmother passed away right when we saved that $10,000. They needed, thankfully, she had life insurance. She was all set up. However, they needed, for the funeral to take place within the next week or so, they needed $10,000. I turned to my wife. I said, "Babe, can we have that $10,000? Because I knew the money was coming from the life insurance policy. Thank God." She's like, "You got it." But guess what? If we didn't have that money, like, the family could have pulled it together. But, we wanted the funeral to take place within the next week. The life insurance company would have took like 2 weeks or something. But ironically, we had $10,000. And I said, "I can't believe this. Like, we actually saved $10,000. So when it comes to, we actually have something, take it off because it has to be updated. My wife put this together, saving 100K by this December 31st, 100K. Right now, let's see. We're on track, babe. We're on track. She told me the other day, I don't look at the accounts because I get nervous, y'all. She helps us. We are, by July 31st, 2021, we should have 80,000. So with everything, we're at like 78,000. Just keeping it real. But writing it down, we have to revise this. That's why I took it off. But just write it down and know that it's possible. Seriously. I'm so thankful for you. Really am.
Yeah, but I think it also starts definitely with like a mind shift and really changing your mindset. Keep that, like, spend a lot of time in that, because that's where it starts. It starts with a mind shift and starts with a mindset. And it's crazy that sometimes when you have knowledge, we have to learn how to forgive ourselves, you know, because sometimes we know this information, we know what we're supposed to do, and we don't do it. So, you know, at least for us, like, you know, 2019 was a travel year for us. So we went into the year 2020 with like over $25,000 in debt, right? So I already know all the knowledge, but right now I'm in $25,000 in debt. I'm in New York, which is like a hustle state. So all my hustle things got shut down by the, you know, the city. Can't do anything. So you're just surviving on whatever you currently have. And within March, like I literally had a comment to myself, you know, just like, oh, that child too. We literally had a conversation to myself is that I want to get out of debt by, you know, July 31st. Now, understand that sometimes you're not going to have people that believe in you. Sometimes you're not going to have people that agree with you. And my wife was one of them. She's like, no, we can't do it that fast. I'm like, I don't care what we can or cannot do. We're doing this because it's what we have to do. So it's like you really got to know your why and why you're doing it. And I would tell you, like, literally on that day, we were out of debt, like called off and made arrangements with people. Call the credit card company, because you can get people to work for you if you work it. When you take control over your finances, there's little tips. This is why I say it's always important to have a coach. There's these little things that you can change in your life that can help you to get to your destination. And then you don't stop there. Sometimes when we relieve our debt, we go get on this emotion of, wow, I feel free. I could go do things. I could go, you know, go away and all that. No, then you create another goal. You know, you create another goal. So after that, I was like, all right, we got to go to our 100K. Let's see, we got to debt that fast. Let's see how fast we're going to, you know, turn your investments for your future into, like, treat it like a bill. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to not pay. Most people, let me rephrase that. Most people are not going to not pay their rent, or most people are not going to not pay their telephone bill, because everybody needs a telephone. The people are not going to pay. Treat your pay when you pay yourself first. Treat that like your cell phone bill. You want your cell phone on, you pay that bill. So you're going to treat your savings for your future and your investments for your future just like that cell phone bill. So if you want freedom in the future, you put that money aside and make sure you have someone to guide you to that.
Wow, that was incredible, y'all. I swear to God, that was incredible. And I'm really big on, you know, the manifestation, the visualization, the affirmation. In fact, literally, I'm sitting under my vision board. That's my vision board right there. That's one of them. Okay. So.
Earl, you're muted.
Yes. Earl, we want to hear everything.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, my light turned off. I had to turn my light back on. But what happened was, it was about 2015. I had just got married, and my wife wanted to buy a house, you know, and credit was my kryptonite. I had a low score. I had, you know, ambitions, though. I was always a positive person, but I just didn't know how to fix credit. I had no idea what steps to make or to take. But when you speak certain things, right, God knows what's on your heart, right? When you speak certain things, and the reason behind it, the purpose is so strong that he's going to put these things in your face, and he's going to put the resources there for you. So I began really just looking at all of the signs that followed after that conversation that me and my wife had. I got a phone call from a friend of mine she was in Atlanta. She's also from the Bronx. She called me, told me about this phenomenal company, Black owned, they're fixing credit, they're helping people buy houses. You know, you should look at it. Of course I didn't. I was reluctant. I was saying, you know, I'll check it out, but I got to get my credit fixed so I can buy this house. So eventually I did, you know, she called me back. I looked at it. It was everything that we was talking about, right? I got started, you know, we're going through the process. They're fixing our credit. 6 months later, it put us in this house that we're talking to. But just to kind of rewind it, I got a chance to go to one of the live conferences that Nove had, right? Nove is the name of the company that I'm a part of. I started out as a client. I became an affiliate. Now I'm like a senior consultant in the program, right? Part of the leadership council. And these were all goals of mine from the beginning. I wanted certain relationships, right? I manifested certain relationships, certain friendships within this program. Okay. I met certain individuals back in 2015 who I can honestly call my friend today. Okay. I got mentors who I can call and I can get positive, truthful advice from today because of just the manifestations. I was able to, you know, achieve certain milestones when it comes to my income, you know, just because of the affirmations and me writing it down and pinning it to my vision board. You know, weight loss goals, you know, knickknacks and certain personal purchases that I wanted to make. Put it on the vision board. Certain, you know, a lot of things. Just once I visualized it and I put it there, it just automatically began to start working in my favor. Okay, so you must see it before you see it. Like you have to have the vision before you have sight. Okay, because it was times when I talked to my wife, she'd be looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, what do you mean we're gonna do this? How? Like, there's no way that's gonna happen. Like, there's nothing in the stars right now that's gonna show us how we're gonna manifest this. And then boom, it happens. And then I look at it with the faith. You know, like I told you, right? You gotta just have a belief, right? You have to believe, and then you have to believe bigger. That's it. That's the recipe. You know.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yes,
I was going
please,
to add to that in terms of, you know, successes, you know, personal success. So one is, again, helping people start wherever they are, to pay themselves first, be consistent. So when I looked up and I saw, oh my God, I have accumulated enough where I say I bought 6 years of my freedom. What does that mean? If I don't work for the next 6 years, every single item will be paid. And the peace that comes with that, right? The joy that comes with that. It's like, okay, I'm not doing this for the money. Yes, I need it, but I am practicing what I'm sharing. And it is real. It does happen. So one of my personal successes, just again, seeing what is happening for me versus where I was before, right? And knowing that if I continue this, where I'm going to end up. Another success is just now I'm having a lot of my clients call me and say, Sonia, I need you to talk to my kids, right? You know, my 18-year-old, my 20-year-old, they just started working and they need to hear this, and showing them at this age, you know, what can happen with that little 25 or that little $50. So to me, them calling me and trusting me with their child is so powerful. That's like the best endorsement, because they've seen the results firsthand and they want to make sure that their kids are starting off getting this information earlier instead of later. But to top it all off, my daughter's 21 now and she's working and in college. But because she grew up hearing me talk to clients and families about this, and she started working, and I'm like, honey, you don't have any bills. You don't have any expenses, really. So I encourage that you you want to start early. So that means you can retire early. And when she's like, okay, Mom, what is it to max out the Roth? I said, honey, it's $500 a month. She's like, let's do it. You know, normally an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old saving monthly, committing to $500 a month is like the hardest thing. That habit of saving is like the hardest habit. And to see that it was nothing, she's like, let's do it. When can you do it? Right? And to see that, so in addition to that, maxing out her Roth at such an early age, and then having her regular savings on top of that. To me, that's the best symbol of success. Knowing that my own child sees it, gets it, and it wasn't a fight, right? So yes, it works. And the earlier we start, the better.
Sonia, thanks so much for sharing that.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Sonia,
sorry. See, we all want to jump in.
Yeah, really quick. Our daughter's 3, and I really look forward to those conversations where she's like, where should I put my money so I can have my money working for me? I really look forward to that. But I can say I'm seeing it right now. Her grandfather gave her $10, and he said, what are you going to do? Put it in my piggy bank. And I saw so much. I was so happy. I was so happy because like that. When my grandmother gave me $10, I went to the 99-cent store and bought 8 toys that was trashed in 2 days. So the goal is to keep that going. The goal is to keep that going. And we did. This was the first year, or last year was the first year we maxed out our Roth, and I look forward. And I'm 31, so I'm looking forward to my daughter doing that at 18. I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
There you go. But here's a tip, Maisha. I don't know if you know this. You're in business, right? What if your child is working in your business? She could be a little model on your promotion material. You can actually start her Roth now.
No, we can.
Yeah, I'll go even a little further. I'm not a tax accountant. Let me put that disclaimer out there. Yes. But if your child works in your business, that can be a tax write-off.
Yes.
Hello, Josh Casey, employee.
Exactly. So it's a double win. Mm-hmm. It's a tax write-off for you, but she's now an employee. She's employed.
Yes.
And in order to do the Roth, which means tax-free growth when you're ready to pull it out, you can start her tax-free account, her Roth IRA, right now.
Thank you. Exactly what we need to do. Why?
We already have it, babe.
Yes.
I wanted to say that's why the work that we are doing is so important, because as we are changing our money story, we're not just doing it for ourselves. Our children and those in the community are watching us. So we are actually breaking the chains from past generations. We're changing things right now in the future, and we're changing the trajectory for future generations as well.
Exactly. Yes, Kima. Yes.
I know that none of you, well, how about this? I have a feeling none of you are therapists. We're not therapists here, but I would love you to talk about the emotion of deserve. People who feel like they do not deserve the things that you are talking about. A lot of you were talking about putting, Earl said, think big and then think bigger, right? And what of those people who are out there watching, like, I can't even think, I can't think big. What do you say? I don't feel like I deserve these things. What do you say to them?
I think a lot of what we're talking about is about self-esteem. It's about confidence. It's about capability, right? A lot of us don't believe we can do it. A, because we probably didn't have the example of somebody showing us how to do it. Or B, we fall victim to the not enough syndrome, where we're watching social media and we're trying, we're comparing our, backstage, failures to the on-stage results of other people. And a lot of the time, but even with credit, man, like, we know it's bigger than credit. We know that, but it starts somewhere. And your credit score and your financial habits are in direct relations to how you see and view yourself. Okay, because if you see yourself, if every morning I get in the mirror and I tell myself, hey, great morning, millionaire, right? And then I go outside and I do something that, a hobo would do with the money, then that's contradicting how I see myself, versus how I'm living with my finances. Okay, so like what you was talking about with Sonia, with the whole habit of saving, right? And just creating that. That is confidence in yourself. That's confidence in your capability. That is belief in your abundance, right? That's you, planting these seeds, and you're telling the universe, like, hey, I plan on being here for a long time. And not only that, I plan on being here successful, because I do as this great person. It's all connected. You're not going to max out your Roth if you don't see yourself doing it. If you don't see yourself as a person who is debt-free, then you're not going to, eliminate your debt. If you don't see yourself as a person who has time freedom and that you deserve to have, weekends off and 4 days out the week off also, then you're not going to put in the pain, so to speak, in order to achieve that. So it goes together. So as I'm fixing the client's credit score, I'm also fixing their self-esteem. I'm building his confidence. So now this father can go home to his wife and kids and say, hey, babe, my credit score not only jumped up 100 points, but I feel like I'm ready to take on this responsibility and put us in this home. or I feel like I'm strong enough to start this business and really make it work because of just these little changes in my little habits, because I'm saving little dollars here and I'm, just making little adjustments, and it's making big results happen in my life. So yeah, that's definitely connection.
Mm-hmm. What I would say to someone who feels that they're undeserving is chances are you were conditioned or programmed to think like that. And most likely it's a limiting belief that's in your subconscious mind. It's planted deep. And if you are a person of color, when we think about our heritage, when we think about our parents and our ancestors, and especially when you think about slavery, they worked hard and sometimes food. You don't deserve this. So these are things that have been passed down to us. And it's about releasing that limiting belief and also understanding the moment you decide, wait a minute, this stuff, this isn't my belief. This was something that was passed down to me. Now, when I do the work with my clients, we can actually go back in time and figure out where that was created. But in the here and now, it's making a decision. You know what? Maybe my mom felt like that. Maybe my grandmother, maybe somebody felt like that. But here, starting today, I am deciding that I deserve money or I deserve more. My children want more. Maybe we don't at first want it think we deserve it, but we definitely want it for our children. We want things to be different and better for them. And it starts with us. So it's about making that decision. So anybody watching, if you think you don't deserve it, or you probably weren't even aware, and now you are, I'm giving you permission to say, I deserve more of what I want. And that's your permission slip. Once you decide, things are going to change for you.
I love that. That's your permission slip. So 2 things I want to add. Shannon asked, none of us are therapists. No, not at all. But I work with therapy for Black girls, just 15 hours a week. That's my job. It doesn't feel like a job at all, I promise you. So I work with therapy for Black girls. If anyone does not have a therapist, definitely get yourself a therapist. I believe every Black person needs a therapist because look what our family members went through, unfortunately. Okay, so head on over there. So I lead our book club. Last night we were our August pick was We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers. And she literally told us, right, we know that one. She killed it. She dropped it. Literally, she's telling us, we absolutely deserve it. Like, who said? Who said not? Definitely put yourself out there, manifest it. And Keem, I love that. You said, this is your permission slip, signed and dated. Go for it. Okay, this is for you. All right. Like, someone shared that. They're like, when I stay at a hotel, I don't order room service. And she said, because her family, when they stayed at hotels, they will always get Subway. So that's what you said. Maybe it's rooted back to where we, the way we grew up. Like we don't order room service. I'm not getting that $22 cheeseburger. And even myself, I'm like, ooh, baby, should we? She's like, just get it. I'm like, okay, I'll get the $22 cheeseburger. It's like literally switching the mindset. Of course we have the money, but I'm like, should we? But it's just literally making that, yes, the conditioning. Earl said conditioning. It's literally all about the mindset. How is your mind conditioned? So if we start to work ways so we can understand how we want to level up ourselves, we just have to put it out there and work on ourselves. It will come into fruition. It will, for sure.
But there's a sense of, vulnerability. Like you got to understand, like when you really, like when I sit down with clients, half the time they don't want to tell you what's in the bag. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to tell you everything that's in the bag. So it is a sense of like vulnerability that happens when you talk to people about their like finances and, how to like better themselves as individual. And there is a part of you that have to forgive yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we get upset that we're not where we think we should be, but we weren't meant to be there. If we were meant to be there, we would be there already. But it's important to hold on to how you feel right now and understand that you can change where you're going. You can change your future. You can change your path by making a decision. And then also look who's around you. We have to be conscious of surrounding ourselves around people that's going to help us get to where we want to get. So like for me, like when I was going through that financial journey, I made a decision. I'm going to have people that I'm pulling up, right? I'm going to have people that's going to pull me up. because you got to have people that stretching
Powerful.
your vision and stretching you to where you want to be, because you don't know how to get there. Because if you would have known how to get there, you would have been there already. So you really got to have people that's stretching you in that direction. But what I love about what I do is I can bring people along with me, so I feel like I'm still helping my community at the same time. So it's really doing that. And then you're gonna have to start changing your habits. Like in the morning, what are you listening to in the morning? Is it like I don't listen to the news. Not that I don't want to be updated. It's just that it's not going to update my life to where it needs to be. I'm listening to people who make millions of dollars. I'm listening to, different people that have all they do is tell me their story. And one day I sat there, I listened to 5 different speakers, and I realized they said the same thing. The same thing. They had the same message. But the problem is we don't listen to the message. We forget the message. We don't remember the message. So you got to listen to the same thing over and over until you get what you need to get out of it. And once you feel that, you go stretch yourself a little bit more. Change your surroundings. Go be with somebody that makes, 10 times the amount that you make. See, how are they living? What do they eat? The food affects the way how we live and how we breathe. How much water do they drink a day? Do they exercise? What do they do to serve? I notice a lot of wealthy people serve their community. They take the time to serve. They take the time to give back. So I think it's really understanding what it takes and understand that you're not ready to be there, but are you willing to do what it takes to get there and make that shift to kind of definitely make it happen?
You're amazing.
Can I make a suggestion real quick? Samantha, you touched on something so powerful that, programming, right? We listen, you get in your car, you listen to the song, you don't like the song, and by the end of the day, you love the song. It's your favorite record. It's programming. You just heard it over and over again. So I would just want to make a suggestion for those of you out there listening who have some time. There's a morning call every morning. It's totally free. They do it 7 days a week. Monday through Friday, it's at 7:30 Eastern time. On the weekends, it's 8:55 a.m. You can join the actual call list. You can text message it's at symbol. I'll write it here too. At MillMind to 81010. If anybody who wants positive, look, I thought I typed it. Who wants positivity in their life? It's a business call for those people who have businesses, but they do heart set, skill set, and mindset. And then there's an affirmation portion where you get to speak real value and speak life, and there's a state change involved, and it's incredible. I've been doing it for the last several years, and I can bet that most of my growth came from me just speaking life, to myself and to my family. So much so that I speak it to my daughter. She's not even 2 years old yet, but she knows what I'm saying, and she feels me. And I say, I'm so happy and grateful that I'm now a millionaire, and we scream, woo, and she screams with me. So it's reaching, you know what I mean? So if that's something you guys want to get into, it's available. Like I said, it's free. You text it at MillMind. So that's Millionaire Minded. So it's MILLMIND to 81010. That's the number, 81010. I'm putting it here too. And then if you do it right, they'll text you back and ask you your name. And then from there, you're involved in the text poll. That is the first text message service for personal growth and self-development. So thank you, Samantha, for that.
So we have a little bit of time left here, but we've talked about our children, we've talked about our grandparents, we've talked about ourselves, and now if you have advice for what happens after we pass, we would love to hear about life insurance. People never want to talk about these things because we don't want to talk about death anyway, but it's important. This idea of we need to leave generational wealth for the generations to come. Well, there has to be something in there. Well, we have to die to do that. Sorry, but we do have to do this. So can you talk a little bit about life insurance, why it's important? What is it?
Well, I think, Naisha, you requested that topic. Did you want to jump in first? You're muted.
We're fighting over the mouse because we're so excited. I wanted to touch on something. So Sonia, if it's okay, if you could open it up, but I want to touch on work life insurance, if that's okay.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
Well, life insurance is, to me, one of the most powerful investment vehicles. It's the foundation of actually building wealth, and it's so misunderstood. It is just so misunderstood. It's like we don't think twice about buying car insurance, and we don't talk about, oh, that's a touchy subject because that means you're planning a car accident. No. Health insurance, we don't go, ooh, am I going to get sick? I got health insurance. No. We need to get to the point where life insurance, it's just like health insurance. It's protecting against a risk that happens. We don't want the risk to happen, but it does happen. And we don't know when it's going to happen. But to me, unlike car insurance, that it may never happen if depending on the kind of driver you are, or health insurance, you may never get sick. I mean, other than giving birth to my child, I've never been hospitalized, right? But I'm paying for this stuff every month. But life insurance it's protecting against a risk, and we all know at some point it's going to happen, right? And so what is it supposed to do? It's about replacing our income. It's about protecting the quality of life of the people that we love, and maybe leaving a little something for those that are still struggling that we care about. So it is so misunderstood. But again, it's us getting to the point where we can talk about these things without all these taboos and just have a healthy conversation. You heard me talk about investing. Well, guys, someone saving even $500 a month, that's $6,000 in a year that they've saved. What if they die at the end of that year? Then that's all they're leaving for their family. But a life insurance allows a family to have, or allows a person to leave immediate wealth. Can you say that with me? Immediate wealth, right? For their loved ones, right? And that is so needed. Right? So go ahead, Naisha.
Of course, we're fighting over the mouth. I'm getting excited here. So, Sonia, you literally hit it. Literally, the immediate wealth. But first starting, of course, funeral expenses have to be paid, no matter how your homegoing service is. And we're trying to end the GoFundMes. The GoFundMes are not needed with the resources we have at our fingertips. Okay, we don't have to have potlucks to raise money when we can literally just put aside $30 to $40 a month for a policy that, one, will cover the funeral expenses, but two, immediate wealth. Exactly what Sonia mentioned. I wanted to share some specificity. People are like, yeah, I have life insurance. I have it through work. I'm all set. My main thing, when you leave that job, is your health insurance going with you? No, your life insurance is not going with you either. Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to retire. They'll let me transfer it out. Okay, number one, you have a group. Majority of the time, you're part of a group policy with your job. They're not going to get individual policies, at work. So you're part of a group policy. If they were to allow you, to buy that out, if you were retired, or the company had a peaceful layoff, I don't even know what that is. You're going to have to pay more, and you may have to take a medical for your life insurance. I myself, I have epilepsy. So my life insurance would be way higher, or I may not get approved for the specific life insurance that I'd like. So the whole goal is to literally set yourself up for something outside of work. The whole goal is for you to be aware and put your mind at ease when you pass away, your family has something for yourself. And literally, people say I don't want to think about that for myself or my children. We literally do not know what's going to happen. No one was expecting COVID. Unfortunately, a 15-year-old boy, he was killed due to lightning during the storm, due to lightning. We don't plan that. So, when I work with families, okay, cool, let's put something on the children. Most of my families are okay, but some people are like, no, I'm not thinking about that. Okay. I used to be a flight attendant. I use my flight attendant lingo. In the unlikely event something were to happen, we just want to be okay. That's it. Just set something up so you don't have to ask people for money to bury your child. That's it. And I know it's scary, but guess what? I was pointing to the phone when Sonia was mentioning car insurance. People have insurance on their phone, $11 a month. Okay. Yes. Your phone is more important than your life. I don't get it. And I share this information you know, it's still a work in progress with our community. I'm speaking for Black people. They're like, I'm gonna think about it. What you thinking about? I don't get it. And then unfortunately, something possibly can happen, and then your family won't have anything. We can talk about it. So that's a whole nother topic, but it's real. Mm-hmm. It's real.
And, you know, to actually add to that, or to what I was saying at first too, it's also the amount, right, Naisha? Mm-hmm. You know, again, many times when people think of life insurance, they think of burial. You know, enough to bury me. But guys, that is the smallest bill. Think about you, right? If you have kids, or if you have a spouse that depends on you, if you have an elderly parent that depends on you because their retirement is not where it needs to be, you pass, all the support, all the things you did for that person is gone with you, right? So many times, so how will they manage? How will their life change because of your passing? So, you know, especially if you have a young kid, right? You know, Naisha touched on this. The group insurance may give you 1 times your annual income. Well, think about this. What's 1 time your annual income? What will that do for your family? After a year, then what? Right? So when I say an immediate inheritance, what I'm talking about is a policy that's big enough to replace your income for about 10 years. And guys, so meaning if someone is making about $50,000 a year, the ideal amount should be at least $500,000, right? Now, if they invest that money and not just go wild and blow it, it will pay them just in the dividends, just in the interest, $50,000 a year indefinitely. Right? So that means after 2 years, they can still live in the house. After 10 years, they can still live in the house. Because a lot of times when a loved one dies, then immediately there's the yard sale. You know, they're selling the furniture. They got to move out the apartment, or they're losing the house because the money situation was not in place. But if they get the right plan at the right amount, it protects the family, right? The kids aren't now losing mom or dad, and then immediately they lose their room, they lose their toys, they lose the school, they lose their friends. It's like their whole life is turned upside down. And those things, it no longer has to be that way. These resources are now available to all of us, and they're affordable. You know, what you spend on a life insurance, I'm willing to bet it's less than what you spend on car insurance, right? So where is the value? What's more important to you? Because yes, like you, Maisha, sometimes they're like $100. That's too much. And then when I ask them, well, how much are you spending on car insurance? Oh, $210. So what are you telling me? That protecting that metal is more important than you protecting your family? You spend that on protecting the car and the bank and their interest. Who's going to come and protect your interest? Right? So again, it's a whole lot of education that needs to happen. And I think we have these issues because the education is slow in coming, the financial education, I mean, to our people. So it's like we need more of us, more of these kinds of venues so the information can start going out there. So thank you, Sophia, for having this.
I love what you just said, and you, Naisha, as well. What I heard and what both of you said is that is generational wealth. That is not just thinking solely about you and solely thinking about right now in this moment, but you're thinking about beyond you. And it even goes beyond your family too, right? Because if I'm leaving money or leaving my son in a good financial position, that impacts his life, his spouse, his family, his children, on and on and on. So I really appreciate both of you bringing that up. Yeah, and it's not taboo. Let's let that go. But I believe, that's a more generational trauma. We're taught thinking about money, talking about money. That's bad. Don't do that. How many of us were raised in religious households where it was like, no, you don't keep money. You better give it all away. Better give it away. Give it away. Not pay yourself first. What? That's so selfish. What are you doing? I want to mention one other resource. It's a book called, especially for entrepreneurs, called Profit First. And I can't think of the name of the author. Profit First. It talks about paying yourself first as an entrepreneur.
Friends and family, we have done it. We have successfully completed yet another Fierce Vulnerability Summit. This has been amazing. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who have been on this panel. Sonia and Naisha, Samantha, Kima, Earl, and of course, Sophia Casey. Thank you for writing this book. We have so many things going on the chat. If you're wondering, where can I find these people? Their contacts have been scrolling across the bottom. They are in the chat. We have so many people trying to make sure that you are not going to lose touch. So if you need some support in your finances, then these are the people that you need to be talking to. The last I have to say to you is thank you all. It has been inspiring and so grounding to witness and be a part of this discussion. Thank you to Sophia Casey for bringing awareness to what it means and how we can be fiercely financially stable. Friends, thank you for joining us and supporting this book and our community. Good night.